Hey guys, how's it going? So, today we're going to talk about Toy Story 3. And before I get too into it, I do want to say that yesterday I made a claim that it would be hard to rank these Toy Story films. After watching Toy Story 3, I kind of think that that no longer holds any ground. It's not too hard to rank movies that kind of start to have some nitpicks. And I think the Toy Story franchise might be one of those, where the first two movies are really good, and then the third one, it's kind of like, why did we need this movie? And then the fourth one is really, why did we need this movie? So, I'll talk more about that, but I do want to just mention that. And another thing I want to mention is after the end of this month, which is May, we're going to be slowing down on reviews. And after looking at my schedule, it's probably going to be Tuesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays that I'll mostly be doing reviews. Sometimes, Wednesday the 27th of this month, I'll be doing Scooby-Doo with the original Scooby-Doo cast. So I'll probably put that on the Wednesday of the next week, which would be the first week of June. But on Tuesday the 26th, I'm starting the X-Men franchise. Friday the 29th, I'll be starting all of the Batman movies. Technically, I'm starting that on Monday the 18th with Batman v Superman, but we'll just be kind of starting from the beginning with Adam West. And then Saturday, May 30th, will be Saw Saturdays. The most disturbing, disgusting, vile, bloody series that is Saw. So I'll be covering those movies every Saturday through June and probably a bit of July. But I don't want to have to be doing this every day. I kind of want to start to improve the quality, but because I have all of May already planned out and none of June even looked at, I want to slow down a bit and take some advice from some friends and go from there. So, moving on now to the reason why we're here, Toy Story 3. This one is not directed by John Lasseter. It's directed by Lee Unkrich, who was an editor on the first two films and then became executive producer on part 4. 2010 animated family adventure. It stars, you know this by now, Tim Allen as Buzz Lightyear, Tom Hanks as Sheriff Woody, Don Rickles as Mr. Potato Head, Joan Cusack as Jessie, John Ratzenberger as Ham, Wallace Shawn as Rex, Jodie Benson as Barbie, John Morris as Andy Davis, Laurie Metcalf as Andy's mom, and Estelle Harris as Mrs. Potato Head. Now, of course, with any good sequel, there are some additions to the cast, including Jeff Garlin as Buttercup, Blake Clark, who was Wally in St. Elmo's Fire. I don't think I mentioned him, but when I saw that he was in the movie, I figured I'd throw that little factoid in there. And took over for Jim Varney, since sadly Jim Varney passed away in 2000 from lung cancer. May he rest in peace. He plays Slinky Dog. Michael Keaton as Ken, who actually, I noticed we have not seen Michael Keaton yet. So we'll see more of him very shortly. As I talked about starting the Batman movies, we will definitely see him very soon. Ned Beatty as Lotso. Timothy Dalton, James Bond himself, as Mr. Pricklepants. Bonnie Hunt as Dolly. Kristen Schaal as Trixie. Whoopi Goldberg, last seen in The Lion King as Shenzi, plays Stretch, and Richard Kind as Bookworm. Has a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's justified. And off of a budget of $200 million, the film made $1.067 billion at the box office. Wow. That's a lot of money. This one actually loses me a bit. I had said in my review for the second film that it would be hard to rank these because they're all excellent. And yeah, I still think they are, But here's, like I said, where I start to nitpick. And I'm not saying that this is certainly a bad angle for a villain. We're gonna talk about Lotso. Um, but the fact that Lotso is motivated by his hatred of humans, therefore he likes the world of daycare since the kids come and go as the years go on, and he's constantly being played with. It's not a bad angle for a kids movie villain based on toys. Any other villain, then you're just a creep. It's not a bad angle, but it's kind of, I don't know, overdone, sort of. The whole, I'm the bad guy, and my ideology is going to clash with people, and it certainly does clash. It clashes with Woody, since Woody has an unbreakable loyalty to Andy. However, the other toys, including Jessie and Buzz, like the way Lotso thinks. Of course, that is until they spend the first day in the caterpillar room, and they're played with a little too rough. Meanwhile, Woody is trying to escape. So, I'm going to talk a lot about the story now. The whole first 20 minutes or so, basically what happens is they're hiding from Andy in the toy box. They take his phone, they put it in there with them, they grab another phone, they call Andy's phone so that he comes in and at least picks them up to get to his phone. That's the way they get their I don't know how you want to word it. I'm not going to word it anyway that would sound absolutely creepy. So we're going to say that's how they get played with. And even that just sounds wrong. So consequentially, the whole first 20 minutes is Andy's packing for college. He puts them in a garbage bag to go up in the attic. The attic door closes. Andy's mom trips over the garbage bag thinking it's trash and throws it out. Dark. The toys, of course, escape and find a box marked for Sunnyside Daycare, where they all jump in. Meanwhile, Woody is completely against this, but goes anyway. That, of course, is why Woody tries to escape after he realizes that, yeah, this may be daycare, but we need to go back to Andy. He'll be missing us. The other toys aren't so certain about Andy missing them, but Woody is sticking to his child as much as possible. So, Woody tries to escape, but ends up going home with Bonnie after she finds him hanging from a tree. When he realizes that being with Bonnie would help fill his need to be played with since Andy is going to college, he wants to go get the toys, and they're still planning on going back to Andy no matter what. We'll talk about kind of how that changes in a few minutes. Meanwhile, Buzz has gotten himself into some trouble with Lotso, and he's sneaking around trying to get to Lotso to say, hey, look, I get it, we're the new guys, the caterpillar room's got to have something to play with, but me and my friends, we are not made for this. That's not how we were meant to be played with. So Lotso's kind of just like, yeah, you can come into the butterfly room. And Buzz is like, cool, I'm gonna go get my friends. He's like, whoa, no, you, not your friends, you. And of course, Buzz is not cool with that. So he gets switched to demo mode and locks his friends inside of, I call them cages in this. It's more like bins that get put into cubbies that are meant to be jail cells. There's an entertaining bit in that I will talk about in a minute. But yeah, so for right now, all of the toys you know and love, Jessie, Ham, Mr. Potato Head, Mrs. Potato Head, Bullseye, they're all locked in the slammer. Meanwhile, Woody goes back to rescue them after learning Lotso's backstory from Chuckles, voiced by Bud Lucky, who plays Rick Dicker in the Incredibles movies, who sadly, I believe it was 2017, he passed away. What I love is that this movie turns into a prison escape film in the second act. So Mr. Potato Head, he puts an actual potato inside of his cage, and as Buzz and Ken and I think Big Baby are doing their nightly check and make sure everyone's in there, they walk by Potato Head and they're like, "Potato Head," it doesn't respond. So Buzz gets all mad and he starts shaking the cage, pulls it out, and it rolls a potato forward. And they look behind him, and there's Mr. Potato Head running for the door, trying to escape. Meanwhile, Slinky and Woody, they start the second plan of the act, which is to take out the monkey with cymbals who watches the camera. So there's a camera room, and there's a monkey with cymbals who sits there, watches the cameras all night long, and alerts Lotso, Ken, and Stretch and all of them when the toys try to escape. So there's a funny sequence where a toy tries to escape, and the monkey's slamming cymbals together, screeching into the microphone. And they, of course, they're like, they somehow understand that means, "Hey, toy, on wall, escape." I don't know. I don't speak monkey. If you do, cool. Can you teach me? That sounds like fun. Anyway, so this leads to a funny scene, which is intercut with several others. While Woody and Slinky are trying to take out the monkey growls at them and runs towards the microphone. Meanwhile, Mr. Potato Head has become Mr. Tortilla Man, and Ken is doing a dress-up for Barbie while she tackles him to the ground and interrogates him. And then, the rest of the toys are escaping and capturing Buzz. The scene's funny because the whole Barbie is interrogating Ken in order to get the manual for Buzz to switch him from demo back to play so that they can have the old Buzz back. Mr. Tortilla Man is trying to open the door and distract the guards so long enough so that they can get out. And if we've already talked about Woody and Slinky. So they get the guide from the bookworm, and this leads to Spanish Buzz, voiced by Javier Fernandez Pena. Spanish Buzz falls for Jessie and does a whole bunch of dances for her and stuff. It's a very funny scene. You don't even have to watch the rest of the movie. Just look up Spanish Buzz on YouTube. I guarantee you will laugh hysterically. And there's even payoff during the end credit scenes where Woody and Jessie play some Spanish music and regular Buzz starts to dance and he doesn't understand why. It's very funny. So they meet up with Mr. Tortilla Man, who has now become Mr. Zucchini Man. Yeah, it does look as phallic as you might imagine. Especially when he puts his hat on, it looks like, well, as Leprechaun would say, always wear a prophylactic. So they're almost out, but Lotso stops them at the last minute, after learning his plan from the chatter telephone voiced by Teddy Newton, because they beat it out of him. He's been one who has been trying to help Woody and Buzz and the others escape. So they end up in the trash, headed to the dump, which leads to the infamous dump scene, where the toys we've all grown to love over 15 years almost die. Which, when I first saw this movie, when I was like 9 or 10, I cried my eyes out because I thought they were going to die. I had to turn off the movie. I didn't know till I was like 15 and rewatched it that they lived. Yeah. Also, Spanish Buzz turns back to normal Buzz after being knocked out by a TV. Yeah. Oh, and the reason he becomes Spanish Buzz, I should mention this, is they undo the back. They go to switch him back to play mode, and it doesn't work right away. So they're like, how do we fix this? Oh, look, there's a reset button. We need something small. Rex, give me your finger. Stick his finger in there. How long are we supposed to hold this? Not that long. And then he turns into Spanish Buzz. So anyway, the group is saved from certain death by the LGMs, or Little Green Men, aka these guys right here. Using the car. They make it back to Andy's, and he's driving to college. But he stops because there's a note on the box written by Woody to donate the toys to Bonnie. Woody was supposed to go to college with Andy for some reason. I can tell you, if I was growing up, if I was going off to college, the last thing I would take with me is a toy. Yeah, I might buy stupid little things like a Jason action figure, you know, that's just gonna stand there and look cool, or a Funko Pop. But I'm not gonna bring like one of these guys with me. I leave those right here where they belong. So they give him the Bonnie, and the movie ends with Bonnie and Andy playing. So that's basically the whole story in a nutshell. So my thoughts, I mentioned that during my Pixar ranking, I would most likely group the Toy Story as films as one complete story, because that is what it is. Woody and Buzz become friends in part 1. They meet Jessie and Bullseye in part 2 while Woody struggles on whether he should stay with his new friends and go live in a museum, or take his new friends back to Andy. And of course that brings us to part 3, where the kid moves on. He goes off to college, and they subsequently have to move on too. Now they have to decide between daycare or the attic. They ultimately choose another child, of course, which is always out of all your choices, that's probably the best one they could have made. It's hard to place any one of these over another, but this feels like a 3-part story that was told over the span of 10 years in universe time. I can't complain about the first 2, but my nitpicks are simple. I don't like the Lotso character. He was starting on down the road of redemption towards the end, when they're all locked in a trash compactor, and they're trying to escape getting sliced up by the machine with all the spinning blades. So they have to grab something metal and fly up to the ceiling so that the metal doesn't chew up the blades. Woody, Buzz, they go down to rescue Lotso. They grab a golf club and fly up to the top. So it seems like Lotso has redeemed himself. Well, he's the only one able to swim towards, I say swim, it's like swimming through a pile of trash, towards a button that would have saved the toys from the furnace by just shutting down the conveyor belt. But then he doesn't do it. He could have saved the toys. He could have been the hero of the story. The redemption arc could have been complete. But he doesn't do it, and I really think he should have. But of course he does end up tied to the front of a garbage truck, because the garbage truck driver picks him up, goes, I had me one of these when I was a kid. Still smells like strawberries, and ties him to the front. And he's like panicking, like, oh God, what am I gonna do? And there's like a frog there. He goes, hey buddy, close your mouth. Yeah, he got what he deserves in the end. The voice acting is all fantastic, and a special shout out to Blake Clark for doing a great job making his voice sound like Jim Varney. I always enjoyed the Slinky Dog character, and I'm glad they didn't write him out of the script, and I'm glad they were able to find somebody to replace Jim Varney, who would sound just like him instead of it being a drastic difference. Speaking of characters I enjoy, Ham is funny. I failed to mention him in the last 2 videos, but I couldn't leave him out here. During the aforementioned prison sequence where they're all locked in cages, Ham is revealed to be playing a harmonica. And he's doing a fantastic job until Buzz knocks on the cage and goes, "Quiet, musical hog." He's also constantly making jokes about products, including locks. There's one where he's standing at the window and he's looking at the lock and he lists off the exact number of the lock and goes, "Finest child lock out there." He's always doing stuff throughout these movies. I don't, and this is what I don't like about Toy Story 4, is I can't think of any scene that he's in. So when I watch that tonight, I'm going to keep a special eye out for him. Just because I can never think of any scene that he's in, and I want to be able to mention it. Alright, so he's always making me laugh. There are no additions to the cast that I wasn't aware of. I knew Michael Keaton was in this. And I knew they had somebody, obviously, to replace Jim Varney, because he had died long before, 10 years before these movies came out. I don't know if he got any special recognition. I couldn't find anything. I think because of the fact that they were able to find somebody to replace him, and it had been 10 years, that they probably didn't feel obligated to make any special attention to it. I think they should have, just because Jim Varney's one of the greats. And again, if you haven't seen any of the Ernest movies, I highly recommend Ernest Goes to Camp or Ernest Goes to Jail. Eventually, I'll find them all and I will review some of them because they're just so damn funny. All right. The animators, though, they did an excellent job. And even though there's 11 years between Toy Story 2 and Toy Story 3, the animation is vastly improved. That is, of course, because there was those 11 years, but they also did a great job, because that's just Pixar improves. They find what's wrong with it and they improve it over time. Now, they also did a great job showing actual human emotions from their human characters. Both as Andy anxiously hands off Woody to Bonnie, but also in Bonnie at the end. This is the end scene is where I caught this. He nervously is like, I don't know if I'm ready to hand off Woody. But he does eventually do so. But there's also that moment where Andy shows up and he's got the box and he isn't sure how to approach them. And Bonnie sees him and goes, "Mom," and then hides behind her mom. Her mom, of course, knows Andy, who's one of her preschool kids. So there's the moment where Bonnie anxiously and nervously walks towards Andy. And it just captures human emotions and just a childlike behavior so well that I think the animators really deserve a huge shout out for that. And of course, it's all in that end sequence where you really see it. I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10 because I can't stand that Lotso doesn't change at the end. He could have been redeemed. Fun fact, I always wanted a Lotso Hugging Bear after I saw the movie as a kid. They used to sell them in stores when the movie came out, kind of like how they did for Bunny and Ducky in the Toy Story movies. Toy Story 4, I should say. They used to sell them in the stores, like I said, and they actually smelled like strawberries, and that's why I wanted one. Could you imagine falling asleep every night sniffing the sweet scent of strawberries? I could. I could have had a great childhood. Thanks, Mom. Just kidding. Love you, Mom. Tomorrow I'm going to talk about Toy Story, and after that, we will finally move away from this franchise. I really wish I hadn't planned Disney Week and Pixar Week right after each other. I am so sick of watching children's movies. I want to get to blood, guts, and all that fun shit. That's why the week after DC Week, we're doing some one-offs. We're doing E.T., the first X-Men movie, the first Scooby-Doo movie, Risky Business, Batman 68, I think it's either 66 or 68, and finally, of course, Saw, as we've talked about. And after that week, like I said, I'm going to move on and just do 3 a week. It might not specifically be Tuesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, just so I have some time. It might be like Sundays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays. Although looking at it like that, it's like I'm still doing 2 back to back. I'll figure something out eventually. I just don't want to start franchises and move away. I don't want to start X-Men and not finish it. I don't want to start the Batman movies and not do them all. And I don't want to not do Saw Saturdays. This is something I've been looking forward to, and I'm going to do it, damn it. Something basically kind of like how I did with Planet of the Apes over on Instagram. Every Saturday was one of the original Planet of the Apes movies, which, yes, I will do videos for probably soon. I wanted to do a franchise, and since I can't do Star Wars yet because, you know, we're still locked in quarantine, even though it ends Friday, I want to do a sci-fi franchise just to talk about it, and that's probably going to be the one I end up going with. So, until tomorrow, when we talk about Toy Story 4, the final chapter in the Toy Story franchise, until inevitably Pixar wants more money and they book it for Toy Story 5, where Bonnie goes off to college and they pass it on to little Susie Joe Bob. I am Luke, and I will see you guys later.